everybody.
Okay, thank you. So this was my temporary job, and I stuck around. I've got a fan club here, and they're all YDC former employees, a couple there, I've got Doug there, and this table here are all former employees that I work with. We're kind of like a big family then. So anyway, I have kind of a long introduction a little bit because I found out some stuff, and then we'll get to some slides. But this is a colored postcard of the institution from about 1900, somewhere in there. So I'll start with this introduction. In 1872, the Douglas County Sheriff named Henry Greeby escorts a group of prisoners from Omaha to the state prison in Lincoln. And among the prisoners is a 14-year-old boy convicted of larceny, and he's sentenced to 2 years in prison. Sheriff Greeby was struck by sending the boy to the state prison. He thought it was wrong. And he said later, "It seemed to me a horrible thing to place him among a lot of hardened criminals." And this left this lasting impression on him. If you're wondering why they were sending kids to the state prison, it's because up till about the middle of the late 1800s, there was really not much thought to juvenile justice and what to do with kids that did crime. Courts punished and confined youth to the same penal institutions that adults went to. But just before the beginning of the Civil War, and especially afterwards, there was a progressive ideas in juvenile crime and incarceration, and things began to emerge, including in Nebraska. In 1875, Nebraskans voted to hold a state constitutional convention. We've been a state since '67, but we didn't have a state constitution yet. It is known as the Grasshopper Convention. Sheriff Greeby is a delegate to this convention. And because of his experience in 1872, he proposed adding wording to the Constitution that the legislature authorize and fund a state reform school for juveniles. It's accepted, but not without a fight between some rural and urban people. They felt this was a problem with eastern Nebraska and Omaha in particular. But it's passed, and it was found in Article 7, Section 12 of the state constitution that dealt with the state being able to establish and fund schools like the school for the deaf, the school for the blind, and in this case, a reform school. Okay, so the state has the right to establish and to fund, but there's no act. So it's in the Constitution, but there's really no law about a reform school yet. So in 1887, unfortunately in 1887, because of bad economic times and fiscal restraint, the legislature does not pass a bill creating a school or the funding for it. However, the outgoing governor did propose remodeling a portion of the state prison as a reform school. And the governor mentions, we need this, I think it's this governor, we have over 30 kids, young people in prison that are from age 14 to age 20, I think it is. In 1879, there's a second attempt, and a bill is proposed again. At this time, Nebraska has we don't have a unicount, but we have 2 houses in the legislature. So the bill is proposed by the lower house of the legislature and proposes Kearney as the location. The bill is passed on to the Senate, goes to the Senate, but the vote is delayed to the last day of the session. And the Senate bill, when it gets passed late in the day, replaces Kearney with Omaha. And then they send this back to the lower house. It's now the evening hours, and the bill, which has been sent to the lower house, they reject Omaha and replace it again with Kearney. And back to the Senate it goes. Now we're in the evening, and the session is supposed to end, okay? So it's in the last hours of the session, and this bill needs to be not only passed, it gets passed, but also engrossed. And because there's not, engrossing means to if you, like this, if I had crossed out lines and was adding stuff in those bills, they needed to have it rewritten correctly, and this, anyway, so that's what they're talking about. I thought engrossed meant when I was, engrossed with a receptionist or something, but that was a little different. As I said, that'd be a fabulous Friday, but it's for no one under 18. So what they do is in the closing hours, they stop the clock. They set the clocks back an hour. That still isn't gonna work. So then they go by and they stop the pendulums. Now we're really late in the evening. And it's passed, but the other legislative clerks are busy engrossing other bills that have to do with money. And so they think, oh, it's done. We'll have to wait another session to pass this bill. However, F.G. Keynes of Kearney, and he's a private citizen, happens to be there, he takes this bill and engrosses it himself and sees that it reaches the proper officers for their signatures, probably from the House and the Senate, and then that can go on to the governor. And so Governor Nance signs the bill on February 27th, 1879. The law required Kearney to donate no less than 320 acres of arable land to the state. They want that deeded to them. Also, the land site had to be within 5 miles of the Kearney limits, and so Kearney citizens purchase this site, and then they have to have a bond to pay for it. I think you get $10 an acre, and so the bond was $3,200 for this. Makes it sound like they weren't quite sure, and these guys had to rush. They had to rush out and find a place because part of the bill said, if you don't have this land by such and such a date, we're going to replace you with Omaha. So they had to go out. And they found a great place. Okay, we'll see if we get it. So there's that. Okay. Well, oops, maybe I missed something here. Oh, this is the act that create. I don't know if you can't read it very well. It's the one that says there shall be established in this state an institution under the name and style of the Nebraska State Reform School for Juvenile Offenders. I don't know if you can read it. It's kind of blurry up there. But that's the act then. Okay, so it's called the Reform School until 1887 when it is changed to the Industrial School. They allotted $10,000 for it, and this Kearney donated to the land. The first building was built and it's completed, and the first superintendent, G.W. Collins, arrives to an empty building, literally an empty building. He comes, he has to buy all of the furniture, he had to buy all the kitchen stuff for the kitchen. He bought a wagon, a horse, and a harness. He said he put in a water closet in this building. Anyway, so then it opens July 1st. The first boy arrived July 15th from Fremont for stealing a buggy whip. The first girl is from Kearney. She stole a piece of candy. And the school is co-ed. In 1887, the name is changed to the Nebraska State Industrial School. So I don't forget, part of the reason they changed that is because they didn't want that name Reform School associated with like a penitentiary. So they changed it to industrial because they were going to have these kids work and learn in industry. If I forget that later on. In the 1890s, there will be, by 1890 actually, there'll be an administration building, a trades building, 5 cottages, a steam plant with an electric dynamo, and numerous farm and other buildings. The buildings have steam heat, hot and cold running water, and electricity. And there's a water system and a water tower, and later a standpipe, and a sewer system. The water tower holds, I don't know if it's here, it holds 1,000 barrels of water. The main buildings are arranged around a rectangular commons area, which we call the square, which we refer to as the square, that is still there. There's a tunnel system there. I'll bring that up. It's this tunnel is the last original physical structure of the facility, and I use it. People use it every day yet. Let's go to my next slide and see what I got here. Okay, so there's that first build. I'm assuming it's the first building. Am I right, Al? Were you there for putting in the first stone?
I was there when they built it.
And that is the first building. There's maybe a little controversy to that, but I assume that's the first building. Okay, and that's the administration building that was there up on the hill. If anybody that was around until about 1970, that sat up on the hill is very imposing.
Which way did it face?
Faced south.
Yeah.
Oh, it did.
And it was painted white. I may have a picture of it later. Okay, there is a picture. If you're going down 30th Avenue and you come past our north driveway, you're looking kind of to the southwest, and you'll see there's a cottage, there's the big, the industrial building, and you'll see the administration building. Gotta make sure I get my stuff here right. Okay. This is E Cottage. It's in the northwest corner of the square. It's 3 stories, basically. There's a basement floor, which you'll see here. The first floor is the school and the cottage manager's apartment. So it would be, they say this is Superintendent Hayward. I think it's the cottage that have parents there. So he and his wife will live there. She takes care of the housekeeping. He will be the teacher at the school, here in the room. And the upper floor is an open sleeping dorm for the students. And he's, like I said, he serves as teacher and his wife is the house mother. Okay, this is the trades building. It's from 1914. That's been there since about 1890. This is where they, it contained the shoe shop, the print shop, the laundry, the kitchen, the bakery, apparently the dining halls for the students and staff, and living quarters for other staff. And to the rear, down behind there, you can see that big smokestack, is the boiler plant, or the where they had the dynamo. Okay, this is kind of a nifty thing. There's an early photograph. That's probably about 1891, 1892, of the facing north, and you can see the buildings arranged in the big trades building. Let me make sure. Okay, this is a view. I kind of like this one. This is a very early view of the grounds looking north. If anybody knew, this would be where Morton would be if you guys are, okay. And you can see the square, and there is a path around there. I don't think the tunnel is there yet. It might be. It looks like it's right there. The tunnel is in the ground, but it sits above the ground at this time. Am I right, Al? You were there. The reason is the tunnel now is because they filled this in. I would hear stories years ago, don't know what the hell I was hearing, and they filled this all in, and the tunnel is underground, and the sidewalks now are on top of it. Okay, I gotta see which one. Anyway, and there's your water tower that sits kind of out where the softball field, I think somewhere out of there would be today. Like I said, that water tower, it contained this, they had, when they built this water tower, they were kind of ahead of the time. And they discussed this. When this was built, they have the largest non-municipal water system in the United States. So they had water like 15 years, I'm from Elm Creek. They had 15, 16, 17 years before Elm Creek had water. They had water and a sewer system. I'm losing where I'm at here. Okay, let me see, which one is this one? This is, we're looking kind of the northeast. I put this one here because you can see the top of the tunnel. Also like the fact that the grounds are so well kept here. And you'll see this for several years. The kids really kept that up. I always wondered if that may have been the first building. It sits off a little bit from the square, unlike the others. And also it says in their library, right above the little peak there, on the glass plate negatives, they're really clear. It says library. I always wondered about that, if that was meant to be, maybe was the first building, but I'm sticking to my story about the administration building. Okay. Let me see if I go to, okay, causes for commitment, incorrigibility, larceny, burglary, vagrancy, horse stealing, forgery, and robbery. For incorrigibility, there's a second bill in 1881, and they do this incorrigibility, add this to, it's basically the same as the first one, but they add this thing about incorrigibility, which is kind of an umbrella. So if you were a kid on Sunday afternoon and they had some kind of blue laws, you couldn't whistle, but walking down the street and you whistled, they could send you up here for dumb things like that. Let me see here. There is, this is from 1930s, there is an intake card for a kid from Neely. He is 10 years old. We didn't have his name's on the back, so I don't use that, okay? But that shows you how young they are. I like this because this is about 1905, 1907, I think, somewhere in there. Gives you a difference in age. You could be committed from age 5 or so up to 16. In 1920, they amend that you could be committed up to age 18. But this kid on the right looks like not sophisticated, right? And at the time, when I started, these guys would know, when the kids came in, they did separate kids by their age, their size, and what we'd call today their sophistication even then. We don't do that so much today. I'm gonna keep track here. Okay, these are the African American students. I don't have any evidence that there was any kind of separation, even though we're going through the time of Jim Crow. They're in with the other kids. Okay, here's one of the classrooms. I don't know if you can see these very well. I have a couple pictures, might show them better. On their first floor of their living unit, or their cottage. There is the playroom. I don't know if that's in the cottage or if it's in that building I thought that's kind of off-centered. It could be that one. Let me go to the next one here. Okay, this one is interesting to me. This is the upstairs where everybody slept. And see these beds? And there's a night watchman. This will be important because up to this time, up to Nebraska, they would put these, even here, there could be 50 kids in one of these cottages. They put them to bed at 8 o'clock at night, 2 kids to a bed. They shut the lights off and then they lock the doors. Nebraska decides we're going to put somebody in there and sit all night and sit up all night. And that's called the Nebraska system. That will be adopted around the nation. And also I like it because there's an electric light bulb hanging from the ceiling, plus they have their kerosene lamps. And we still have night watch today. It's kind of in their little room, but it's kind of the same thing. Let me see where I'm at here. Okay, there's the library. This might be a Sunday. One of the things they did is the kids had to wear, this was part of the, when you were, the system was, one, you had to wear, they wanted you to wear uniforms and you had to do military drill, and they did it with real rifles for the bigger kids. I probably didn't have guns, shells, but they did use rifles, and they were doing this very early because I think about 1888, 89, they lost their drill instructor, and they had to find another one. Church services, it's an assembly, more likely church services. This little guy up here is missing a leg. I don't know if you can see he's got crutches.
So what was the population on campus like?
It's like well over 200.
Well over 200.
And we had girls as well. Okay, this photograph I found kind of goofing around. I found by accident. This comes from the University of Michigan. This is an advertisement for the Lincoln Highway, probably about 1920, but I like it because it shows you how big the farming operation was at the time. A great barn, there'll be a horse barn, all the cattle, they milked, they had hogs. I don't have pictures of the hogs. I've got a chunk of one of those silos. They were made out of that heavy ceramic tile. The guys always find stuff and they bring me stuff because they know I like that stuff, so they bring it to me. There's the horse barn. I asked corrections if I could get the blueprints, and they go, oh, we threw them all away. And I go, yeah, darn it. Okay, this says picking cauliflower. I love these photographs. There's a bunch of these, I can't show them all. This supposedly, they says this is a cauliflower field. That looks more like cabbages to me. I'm not sure. I don't know if anybody knows. That's a nice view of the school in the background. This supposedly is a sweet potato field. I love it. They got their hats all cocked back or whatever, kind of raked or whatever. Okay, this is the potato field. I think every year they would raise like 40 acres of potatoes. They kept what they needed, and then they would sell the rest to Grand Island. There's here's a wheat field or oats field, they're making, those sheaves to make shocks, you can see them over here. Okay, here is, this institution in the back, there's the Kearney Canal, it's only about 4 feet wide. I think that picture is taken where you cross the bridge into Rolling Hills, because our 320 acres went that far, it's, the golf course took it, but that's where I think you cross. It says he's out checking the cows, but he's got a cow out, if he doesn't know it already. This is repairing cement. They are up by the administration building or the trades building. You can see, I haven't, there's a better photograph, but the plat would be, you don't see any trees. I love this photograph because you can't tell, but the kid with the stick in the middle here, the other kid's bent over, they're hamming it up so the one kid's like, I'm gonna whop that kid in the fanny, and they're smiling. They think that's funny.
I do too.
And they'll ham up for some of these pictures. There's the bakery. Must have been in the basement of the trades building. I think I read somewhere on, I don't know which day or if they did it more one, they would bake 400 loaves of bread. And they mentioned somewhere in here that when they cleaned this up and painted it, they mentioned about how much better the food, there's not so much dirt and the food tastes better. When they cleaned this all up. There's the laundry. There, the big line shaft to run the stuff. The kid's hamming it up. He's got his hands under his suspenders. There is the boiler house and the boilers. I think they had 5 of them. See the little guy over here to the right with the shovel? There is the print shop. And that was one of the things they taught kids was how to be set type. And they had their own, and I couldn't bring it, they printed a newspaper every 2 weeks called The Journal. And it was kind of like a small town newspaper. And this would be sent to local and state officials and to other officials around the country and to other institutions around the country. We have 2 bound volumes. I have one at my desk, and there's one over at the school. And they're really interesting, but the paper's really fragile. I thought I had the front, took a picture of it, I couldn't find it. I have a couple things from them where there's a couple frontispieces, a picture of what they write about, and then I have their Christmas dinner for 1897. They would print in there, but they tell all sorts of stories. Who was leaving, who was visiting, stories about the country. They're kind of interesting. The baseball team. Now they had all this sports teams, and they played all the local teams around. I'll get to that here in a minute. Okay, here's the track students. I cannot get this guy in the middle with the black down here. Okay, on the negative, on the glass plate negative, I can't see it here, but just above his crotch where this button's up, he's either ripped it and had either he did this or his cottage mother repaired this. And what you see is a green stem with 2 leaves and a big flower. Right here, at the right above the crop, you can just barely see it. I tried to get this, and I can't. I was going to get a picture and make that so you can see that. Okay, got to figure out where I'm going to lose myself again here. Basketball team, and they went to the state. In at least I know 1929. Now whether that's the group, I don't know.
Only 5?
There's the band. Band was one of the things that early on that they had the kids participate in. Okay, this photo I found last summer, and it's important for a couple reasons. I found it at UNK. The reason I think is it said they play, the kids in the back are from the State Industrial School. The kids on the ground are the normal school from the college. This is in the 100 years or whatever of UNK sports. They have that they're playing the Boys Military Academy, and that's wrong. It says very plainly, normal school and industrial school football teams, Kearney, Nebraska. It's dated 1907. Oh, I'll go through some stuff. I got some stories I'll tell and bore the crap out of you, I guess. If I can find my Okay, so this is 1889, I'll keep this so I can remember. Okay, so I said that they would do military drill and dress up. In 1889, the Shelton militia comes to town. And the boys band and the boys, they march down Central Avenue in Kearney playing. And they go to the Burlington depot to meet the Shelton guys, and then they go back. Maybe on the trolley car. I'm not sure, but anyway, so they go back up to the institution, they play baseball with these guys, they also do drill with the militia. And there's the militia, and there's the institution in the background. They did this for a little later, but that was done down where Quiznos is today. And it's a butcher photograph because the one, if something happened, he scratches out one of the living units. I can't see it, bro, it's not very good, but that's what happens there.
How many living units at this point?
I think there was 5.
Did any of the boys get industrialized and then go out and have to come back, or did they learn a trade?
They would learn trade, a lot of them would do farming. You know, imagine, these kids are coming, I always think, these kids are coming from up in the Sand Hills where we're living in sod houses, and they're coming to an institution with electricity and hot and cold running water and steam, whatever. But yeah, they would teach them, that one of the things I'm gonna say, we don't know just how successful this is because they didn't keep records about, was there a recidivism? But not all these kids were sent there because they were particularly bad, they were just incorrigible, or in a lot of cases, mom or dad was a drunk, they maybe came from and they considered that immoral, and the kid was getting whatever, so they would send him up there.
So the parents could send the kids there, it wasn't adjudicated?
No, they were basically adjudicated, but they had, like I said, they had those kind of if there were blue laws and you were incorrigible and you were whistling when you were, the magistrate or somebody grabbed you and take you before the judge, and you go, oh, that kid needs to go up there and needs a lesson. Especially if you had been orphaned, or if you only had one parent, or 2 parents, or the parent, mom had some ill, whatever, not ill, but ill reputation, and dad was a drunk, or you got shipped up there a lot. I was lucky. Okay, I'm gonna lose my place here. Okay, Home from the Hill, I gotta remember this one. This is about a kid named Tom Jones. He came from Otoe County. He's 20 years old. Now remember, they're not taking kids. What year is that? 1890. They're not supposed to take kids over age 20. The superintendent is Malalu, who's kind of nationally known and an advocate for kids. This kid causes trouble. He's inciting lots of trouble up there, and they can't control it. And he sends a thing to the judge and says, hey, I'm not running a prison up here. Get this kid out of here. But they have to keep the kid in shackles. And one time it says here, he's so incorrigible they must keep him in irons and locked up. The other day he jumped out of the 3rd-story window with handcuffs on.
Oh my.
And I don't know whether they get him out of there. We had stuff like that, didn't we, Ron?
Much worse. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna lose my place. Okay, what's the one, the tough case of a boy? Oh, this kid. Can't remember. Okay, this kid's named Cochran. He's from Fairmont. His dad's ill. The town magistrate or marshal says, hey, the kid's father, we think may be dying. Can you send the kid home? And they furlough kids, let them go. And they do that today. The kid's there for a couple weeks or whatever. Dad kind of recovers. Time for the kid to come back. He takes off with just the clothes he's on. They catch him at Crete. And when they do, they're kind of snarky about this. He said he'd only been away 5 days, but he'd been to Lincoln, but he's arrested in Crete. When they caught him, he has a gold watch, $8.50, 9 neckties, and a new pair of extra pants. And it says here, when he ran off, he had the clothes on his back. So he's been doing a very thriving business since he came out. So they get him back to Fairmont, put him in the jail, and the kid pulls a piece of metal out of the damn window in his cell, and he starts digging underneath, he's trying to escape, he's digging underneath, I don't know how this, where the brick chimney is. And he's digging underneath, and they catch him just before he gets out because the chimney is beginning to go. And they're worried, so they catch him, and then they bring him back. He says, well, I'll escape again. Okay, Geneva, we send the kids to Geneva, the girls, in 1892. The reason was one reason was overcrowding. The other reason was, they kind of allude to this, was you got boys and girls on campus, and boys and girls are running around, kind of going off behind the bushes or whatever, and they think they're gonna have trouble. And the other reason is, I think Malibu or whatever says, hey, we'd like to get the girls out. I don't know how legitimate this is. We don't want them, when they leave here, going back to some town, and the boy's from the same town, and he sees the girl and he points the finger and says, oh, she was a whatever, and she was up at the, that was another reason. So they put them in wagons. They go across country to where they keep the trolley cars. Put them in the trolley cars, 2 trolley cars loads, and then they run them back down to the Burlington Northern or whatever, and put them on, and take them to Geneva.
How did they start the business in Geneva?
That I don't know enough about, and I don't know if anybody, I worried when they closed Geneva, what happened to all, they had photographs, and so I don't know what happened to them. But there were like 50-some girls, 55, I think they had 57, we said 55. Mom and Dad picked up the other 2, they said they were fine. They could go home. Okay, where the boys make or break. Let me see here, which one's this one? Oh, this is the good one. This is the one, I think, Mary Beth is here, which, when I did this once before, and we were having escapes in 2017, everybody said, and I told everybody, if this is gonna give you the willies, you need to step outside while I talk about this a little bit. But on December 7th, it's a Saturday night, 1896, there's hundreds of boys, over 100 boys, at the trades building. They're having supper, and it's time to leave, but it's dark, and the boys get up to go back to their cottage. 40 boys take off right out the door, boom, out they go in the dark. Okay, the other 60 boys, and they take knives, they take their kitchen knives or whatever. Another 60 boys apparently I think they're going to take off too, and a person in charge there, or somebody there named Mr. Snyder, pulls out a pistol, so on a chance, and said, I'll drop the first kid that heads to the door. And so they stop. And now these kids are out, they got like 40 kids out and about. They catch about 12 of them that night, and then they catch the rest. There's a bounty, $10 a head. Or your ears, I guess, I don't know. Anyway, they raises that later to about 25. But anyway, it said, Kid Thrasher, a boy sent up from Plaster, he was the leader of the break and was caught about midnight. Some of the boys were armed with butcher knives and sugar beet knives. Yeah, can you imagine if we had 40 kids take off? The town would be in a major
We
uproar.
came close to it.
Well, we did come close one time. We don't talk about that, Ron.
No. Bad memory, yeah.
Big secret. Okay, what am I doing? What's my next one here? Boys turn the gun on the captor. Okay, 2 kids run off. Some guy sees them. They're west of the institution, and they're north of the old cotton mill institution. And this farmer sees him, and he has a shotgun with him for something. He's shooting rabbits or something. I don't know. It's summertime. So he points the gun, takes some kids, marching them back to the hill. The kids one of the kids feigns that he trips, and the guy's walking along, and he walks right up to the kid. Well, they attack this guy, knock him down, kick him in the face, take away his shotgun, and they run off. But they leave their coat and hats, and then 2 other people come. I forget if they're from the hill or whatever. Come, and then so and the boys run and hide in these bushes, and there's a standoff because they got the gun. Okay, so there's this parlay where the kid said, "Okay, we'll give you the gun. Can we get our hat and coats back?" And they go, "Yeah." So they switch out, give the kids, they hand the coat, their gun, they hand them their coat and hats. Boom, off they go again, and they catch one, they don't catch the other. Oh my God, let's see what this one
very good sprinter.
Okay.
Yeah.
This one happens on East 24th Street, what year, 1905. There's a Mrs. Offel or Offel or whatever. She's in her house, she's looking out the window, and she sees one of our boys, and he's dressed, I don't know if he's in his bibs or he's in his military uniform, but she sees him out there, and she calls up the institution, says, hey, there's one of your boys is out here, and in the meantime, then this kid walks to the neighbor's house to the back door, and wants to knock on the door. So she leaves her house, runs around to the front door of his house, and is at his front door. In the meantime, this kid sees, I think, the town police chief, Trendle or whatever. So then this kid just opens the door, shoots through the house, and while she's standing at the front door knocking, boom, out he comes out the front door. Right past her, okay? I forget how this was. Anyway, and he runs out the street. And it says on west on 24th Street, the boy ran like a deer, followed by Chief Trindle and a number of women. Okay? Superintendent Bergert happens to be driving by with his buggy, and he too joins this chase. Okay. In the meantime, the chief pressed an express wagon. Express would be like, a UPS. Going by, he hails and jumps on the wagon, and then they chase this boy until he's overtaken at 2nd Avenue, and he's returned to the school. The last one here, is the watchman. He kills himself. We have a suicide. This is in 1932. This guy is upstairs, apparently in his apartment at the State Industrial School. His wife has left. I don't know if she left him or she went to California to find work, but this guy's despondent and he kills himself up there. I might be getting done earlier than I thought. Okay, when I was doing some work about 25 years ago for 125th or whatever, and I did ACA, I come across this operational memorandum that had to do with disbursement of remains or something like that. I'm going, oh my God, I never thought about that. Kids dying up here and what you did. So there was this thing about what we would do with you if you passed away and nobody would claim the body. So, and in this case, we have these kids. I have a thing up here I don't think I have them all up here, but we have these kids, like this kid's named Sweetie, and we have Samuel Dates. He jumps into, if you've been golfing on the north side of the canal out there are 2 ponds. He jumped into one of those, apparently breaks his neck. We have Sam Burrett, the night watchman. Barbara Collier, she's a young black girl. She dies of tuberculosis. We have Malachi Matthews, he dies of pneumonia, I think it is. And we have in 1939, nobody's relative, Dwayne Weissman, he hangs himself in the State Industrial Hospital. We have in 1918, we built this hospital. It was a great building. I think about that every now and then. It was full of marble. These kids are buried out the Kearney Cemetery. I called when I was looking this up, and John Murphy, he used to work up there, I think it was one time, why don't you look up the cemetery records and see who bought see who buys the plot. So I went and looked at it, and I started finding people, and they didn't have stones. So we kind of gathered up money and we bought stones for these kids. And I think the only one we didn't have was the Samuel Sleets, or the Sleets kid. We didn't know his name, and we need to get that done. I called the cemetery and asked, hey, I got this, am I missing anybody? And I think this is funny how he goes, yes, you did, 2 of them. And you owe us $120 bucks for upkeep for the last 100 and some years. I'm like, why just boom, without everything? Well, good luck getting that, because you ain't getting it. Okay, I put this, because I did this years ago. In 1945, the name is changed to the Boys Training School. In 1947, the State Fire Marshal condemns the original buildings as fire traps. The cottages were demolished and replaced in the next few years. The administration hangs on until 1970. In 1950, the buildings were nearly 70 years old. I did this in 2019. At that time, our buildings were 70 years old. But they were made out of concrete block, structural tile, that cement that's got the stone in it, terrazzo they're in great shape, yeah, I thought. Let me see what else I got. Okay, I got a couple, this is a photograph of I call it the square, and you can see the top of the little one, that's the tunnel. And I like this because how well kept this is and what these kids are doing. The 5 or 6 kids over here have their slouch hats on, they're going like this, and they've got old fashioned push reel mowers. They're pushing there. You never see a kid who is weight challenged. Is that the term? They're all just kidding, and they all look kind of happy. Okay, I love this. It's called Among the Flowers. They're all out. There's kids here, and they're barefoot and they're wearing their work clothes. And I may have a couple more because I got some. Here is out in front of the administration building. The kids are all saluting you. I think last time I said salute, and we were done. But I think I have a couple more. I like this one. This is from about 1910s. This is a group of students from the normal school. They have come up for chapel services on Sunday, and they're taking a tour of the institution. I like that photograph. Let me see if I got another one. Oh, the end. There's a couple things that I don't know if I got them here or not. There's a couple things I add is where the building I work in is called the Gomez Hall. Gomez Hall is named after Edward Gomez. He was a youth up there in the 1940s. When he leaves, he goes off, joins the Army. I think he goes home to Omaha. He joins the Army, goes to Korea, and he gets killed in action. He's, my understanding, he's running bullet, whatever, taking ammunition around. And a grenade is thrown near him and a group of guys, and he falls on it and kills himself, and saves these guys. And he gets the Congressional Medal of Honor. That Medal of Honor is in Omaha. I forget which museum. I called that museum, and they told me they have it on display. They had no clue he was up here. He was a pretty good student, and he was in Golden Gloves, and he's a pretty good Golden Gloves boxer. The other thing I like to mention, I wish Professor Ty was here because he can answer this. That football team that we looked at earlier, I thought was interesting because last year I got called down here, and Lorraine, you might know more about this than I do. Where you at? Anyway, I had a lady. She was Korean. She came down and she wanted to know if her grandfather, Lorraine, do you remember? Huh?
It was their grandfather.
Her grandfather.
Yeah.
Her grandfather was named Ilhan Nu. I didn't know this, but earlier when Professor Ty did story, Ilhan Nu came to Kearney as a very young boy from Korea. I don't know who he stayed with, but he was on the Kearney High football team. There's a picture of him. Didn't think too much of it until she came and said, hey, my grandfather started an industrial school just like what you have here at Kearney, and I want to know how much he would have known about the school. And I go, well, you know, it was up there, and at the time it would have been very obvious the kids were here all the time around town, so he would have probably known about it. But he was in football, and we had this football team there, and they probably played each other somewhere. And so he supposedly, she thinks, got the idea of an industrial school for boys in Korea. He built that. He went off, and Ilhan Nu is famous because he leaves Kearney, I think he goes to Detroit. He establishes, what's the food company? LaChoy Foods.
Oh,
Makes his money that goes, and then apparently returns to Korea or whatever, and he builds this industrial school. And she was here talking about that and how much he would have known and would he have been up there, whatever, visit when, and apparently he could have been, and probably played football against these guys. So, I've forgotten a lot. I mean, I could go all day on this, so.
With Gomez, there's a street in Omaha named after him.
Yeah, and there's a street named in Omaha after,
And a school.
and a school. And they didn't know that there was a building named after him here at Kearney.
I run 3 touchdowns back.
So I guess I think that's it. If you got any questions, I don't know if I can answer everything.
Graduates, yes.
What, you the tunnel several times. What did they use them for? Were they a means in the winter time?
Yeah, I think maybe, because we still use, when I started, we could take the kids through the tunnels when the weather was bad, like during storms, we could take them to the boys' dining room that way, and they use them, and they still use them today. They don't send them down there today because all of our electrical and computer and all the stuff's down there now, but they use them for, when we have tornadoes, that's the tornado shelter. And they have no compression strength apparently, so they're kind of careful about them. So,
Why did we fight Omaha to get it?
I don't know. I really don't know, and I don't know if Kearney asked for this, it just said, Kearney, you'll do it, and they kind of said, you'll do it, or we're gonna move to Omaha.
Or did any other town around try?
I don't know, they didn't mention any others.
They did it for jobs, I would imagine.
Well, it
There
could
was
be,
an employers.
could be, and they thought Kearney was gonna be a big deal.
Kearney State Teachers, Kearney State Teachers College had a generator, you had a generator. Then they put in the power generator thing. We had 3 generators at one time in Kearney, Nebraska. Is that right?
Well, we did a little thing about Wednesday at the library, they talked about electricity at Kearney, and about how that came early to Kearney, 1887, you were there, Amber, what, was it 1887?
I don't remember the year, but.
And I was thinking, well, we'd get one by like 1890, we have this dynamo that pumps, to help pump water and make electricity. Because it goes down once and they have to go to the they have to go down to the Kearney Canal, and get water every day. They're getting water, I don't know if they use it because the dynamo, something happened to it and they couldn't pump water.
Robin, I read somewhere that the TB hospital got their food from the
Yes.
farm here.
Yes. Yes, that is true, because they had a huge garden there, and like our excess, they would take stuff to the TB hospital. There's no tunnel from YRTC to the TB hospital. That's been a long-running myth, there's no such thing. But yeah, they would take stuff over there. We had the big dairy, I don't know if you guys remember, the dairy. We have a really nice hog house at the time. They raised a lot, I have something where in, I don't know, it's 1890 or wherever, it's somewhere here, it says, we have tomato plants to sell. We have 100,000 tomato plants. And for $2.50, we will give you 1,000 tomato plants. We also have eggplant, it's somewhere. And I got a few things too. I find stupid things, if anybody wants to look at it. This is underground, this is low bid, state low bid, apparently. This is electrical wire or telephone wire. It's encased in a lead, and this is for underground. This would come out in the 1870s. I knew this from something else. And then within a few years, they realized this isn't gonna work because underground contraction, this stuff breaks and cracks. But maintenance would find stuff like this and they bring it down to me.
Robin, do you know the story about the hog barn burning down?
You mean when I was there and we lit it on fire by accident, or?
Oh, no. So a kid lit the fire and watched it burn down. And so Dr. Bigelow, talked to the kid, they couldn't figure out. And I don't know if he got sent to the reformatory, I can't remember what all Doc told me. His parents had bought him a camera, and he wanted to take pictures of a fire, so he started the hog barn. True story.
I have people call once in a while, or stop up. I've had a guy who stabbed somebody in the 50s, and then took the guy to the hospital. He stopped up and told me the whole story, looked it up in Kearney Hub, it was all true, everything he told me. A guy named Gray from the late 50s, we had, because of the school, we had an annual, the Viking, a yearly annual. He was the editor when he was like 18. And he talked when he left, he went to California, and he worked in our hospital. He took the temperatures of kids in the convalescent part of the hospital. And he goes, I got the hell out of here. And I went to California, and he says, I got a job at the VA hospital because I knew how to take the temperature of people. And he said, this place saved my life. He said, a friend of mine, I don't know if he got killed or they went to the chair or whatever. And he said, I go to California, and he had went off and become a kind of a bigwig in the, insurance, industry for veterans. And he started out in the Veterans Hospital. He said that all because I could take the temperature up there. And then you mentioned that, I had a kid call me, well, he's a kid, he's my age or older. Well, his parents worked up there, and he was telling me about, in the front of the big administration building, there, he said they brought in a pickup load of fireworks, because they did do fireworks even back in the day. And he said it was in the back of the truck, parked in front of the administration building, and they let kids smoke, but I don't know if they let them. Somebody threw a cigarette or a match in the back. Do you know this story?
No, I don't.
And they said this stuff went off and rockets start going through the windows of the administration. About 1959, I think it was 1959, 1960. Also found kicking around, I don't know how I would find this, but kicking around the gravel, there's an original, this is a button I found that's made out of shell. And you can tell if you, on the back side where it's been, and then they drill little holes in it to make the shell buttons for their clothing. I've got this internment thing, there's a bunch of photographs on these guys and where they're buried at the cemetery. Here's the first biennial report from 1882 about the institution. I don't know what I did. I had a picture of the Industrial School Journal. But there's a picture of what it looks like on the inside. And then the kids would draw pictures, and also the 1897 menu for Christmas, which was soup. What's mango pickles? Does anybody know what that is? Nobody knows what that is. Mango pickles, sliced onions, roast young turkey with cranberry sauce, mashed potatoes, apple pie, oranges, wheat bread, graham bread, fresh butter, tea, and coffee. And then there's a frontispieces in that book are kids that did drawings, because they would go they'd go to state fair or county fair and the state fair in certain areas, and one of them was penmanship and drawing. And this is in the frontispieces of that journal. I forgot this one right side up. And there's two different versions, because one has the old wooden water tower, the other one has the newer standpipe in it, but it gives you kind of a nice look of whatever, so.
Do you know what the standard length of stay was?
Then, well, you know, if you went, what they did was when you were sent there, depending on your crime, you were given demerits, from 6,000 to 8,000 demerits. And every day, if you were good, you got 10 merits. Take away from your
2 or 3 years.
Yes, and actually, they did that because they wanted you to stay there a length of stay, and they would keep you until they felt you were okay to go, or you kind of aged out at 21.
What's the maximum number of students there? What's the current population?
Current population was 101 this morning, and Ron was at around 260, about 2,000. But it was even more in the 50s. Even in 1890 something, they had
When Al and I were there,
200
when I
some
started,
kids.
it was like 225, 250.
Was it? Okay.
I had 50 kids, I remember that.
Yeah, it's been high. They think 101 is high right now, and our capacity still is 172.
Is it really?
There's a big controversy about that.
That's all about per diem.
Yeah,
Yes.
or whatever, so,
What do the kids do now?
nothing.
What are they supposed to do?
That's the shame of it.
Well, Marv, you're laughing. Am I lying or am I lying? Huh? He can't. Your guy got him flustered.
Do they have jobs?
No.
Supposedly?
No. Well, Marv, you wanna answer this? You?
I
work
They
in-
have jobs,
Yeah,
they take care of the cottage and the yard and those kind of things.
in
They work
theory.
at the dining hall.
When did they stop having them work, do the hogs and the dairy farm and all that stuff?
Well, the hogs at the dairy farm and we had cattle when I started. I got hired. I go, what the hell did I get hired up here? I just went up there to sign up so I could say because I got laid off in New Holland. I just wanted, that I signed up for a job. They called me and I asked asked, the assistant administrator, Pete Peterson later, I said, what'd you hire me for? I don't know jack about being in maintenance. And he goes, well, I gotta have somebody that can pick up hay and feed the cows. You know how to do that. So I got hired for feeding cows. And we had those until about 1990. The hogs, I don't know, but they had a state-of-the-art milk barn, and they had really kind of a state-of-the-art hog facility
Oh, I'm sorry.
up there.
But they don't have any hogs.
We have a lot of stories.
Yeah, the hogs were gone first, and then the.
My brother, I think this was around 1953, he was a student at UNK, he worked out at the, I can't remember what they called it, but he had his car stolen when he drove out to go to work, and they stole his car. That was back in 1953.
Well, that wasn't the last one.
I wanted to ask you about Effie McFarland.
I got a picture of me
She's
holding
got-
hands with Effie.
She was quite a gal.
Yes.
She ran a strip show, right?
Yes. One of the former ODs told me one time that, I can't repeat some of the stuff that she talked about here. But he said one time she was mad at the kid, she worked in the laundry, for one thing, and they said. They
She
brought
ran the
in.
laundry, she
Huh?
didn't work in the.
Yeah, she ran the laundry. Anyway, the kids did something, and I think it was Randy, I forgot Randy's name. Anyway, he said she was mad at the kids about something, and they would, about them bitching, and said she just, and she was an old lady, she just got down on the floor and started rolling back and forth and screaming and hollering, and got them saying, that's what you guys do, or whatever, in front of all the kids. And something about that, all these dogs, she said it was terrible, that dogs making dogs, and there was no grass left or nothing up there.
Yeah, a dog for every boy.
What was, did you find anything on the relationship between the Kearney Army Airfield and the Industrial School?
No, not yet, I still am finding,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff, I said I could be, just, well, I kind of glazed over all the early stuff, like that could take all morning, you know?
Weren't there some stories about American Indian boys being?
Yes, I don't know enough about that, but yes, we get kids from, the reservations, but not so much anymore. They did a few when these guys, Al,
Back in the day, the entertainment in Kearney on Sunday, we had Indian dances.
yes, I kind of,
And during the fall, and it was down there across from where Beacos is at, where we had Indian dances, and they'd go there, and people from Kearney would come and watch. At that period of time, about last of September, 1st of October, the population of Native Americans would triple. They would purposely get in trouble on the reservation and come down. And then on top of that, Nebraska had a contract with federal authorities that we had to take so many federal kids. So we had kids coming, Native Americans from Montana, all over the United States. And some of when we were playing basketball against towns, we could field an all Native American team because they were good.
and they referred to their, people they fought against as the little scouts, is that right?
Probably, my brother-in-law worked out here at Winter, probably got time glorious.
Yeah.
But they were out tending some field or something, I don't know what the boys were doing, but a couple started running away. And they sent this, one guy who was an Indian, said, go get him, well, the guy just kept running. He
You know-
passed those guys and just kept going.
They did, I don't know if this is years ago, because I knew one of the guys, you could go up and get kids and take them home and work, because I remember guys said, I'd pick corn, I'd come to Kearney to the, boys training school and get a kid, and they'd take him home for the weekend, and then he'd help pick corn, or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
The other thing is that nobody's brought up, I don't know much about if there's any discipline, what was going on in those days. The only thing I knew about was this kid that's being shackled, and there's nothing about any kind of discipline, what's going on. Al?
Another short story, back when in 1966, the superintendent was a guy by the name of Bill Ittinger.
Oh, are we gonna tell that story?
And Bill thought every boy had a dog.
Oh,
And when we were on campus, there was 100 and some dogs. Dogs would get in, fight and kill each other.
Puppies a whole.
Effie McFarland talked, that's what Randy Erickson, about, she said, just said it was terrible, there was no grass and nothing. Up there, digging.
Is Erickson still so ugly?
I'll call him and I'll let
Why
him.
am I said that?
Okay, I'll call him.
We
There's
had-
a old sidewalk up there
We
with
had
dog ponds.
we had dogs while I was there.
Yeah, they
I
had
had-
one in, we
I
had,
had charge of 5 of them.
where Ron worked was the intake building, and they used the dog kind of as a therapeutic.
No, not really.
Basically, was it-
Well,
We used him in our duck blind.
the very first dog belonged to some people named Carpenters and was running loose on the campus. And Al and I turned him into a duck dog, but, Mr. McCarty came to me and said, we gotta do something with that dog. So I said, well, he said, well, put him in Dixon, or put her in Dixon. You know, it's enclosed, you can't get out. Took her to the vet, got her all cleaned up, you know. We took her down to the key pit, the boys training school pit. I shot a shotgun over her a couple times, she seemed fine. Took her up to our duck blind, never trained her. She hunted for us, she hunted for cops, she hunted for attorneys, she hunted for school teachers. We'd have people on weekends ring the doorbell and Colby come running out and get in their car.
Yeah, we paid
Anyway.
$200 for a dog and that dog.
Are we done? I'm getting,
I'm sorry.
that's fine.